Hello, boils and ghouls. This week, I watched episode 5 and 6 of Daredevil Born Again, and there is a lot going on. So episode 6 is what they call a bottle episode because it takes place in one location, the bank. Matt goes because he's looking for a loan for the office, and he meets a character I wasn't expecting to see, Ms. Marvel's dad, Yusuf Khan. I loved seeing him. I think he's adorable. He's so proud of his daughter, even though he can't tell anybody that she is Miss Marvel. But he mentions how Jersey City has their own superhero and has a little Funko type doll of Miss Marvel on his desk, and I think that's adorable. I've seen online a lot of people say they feel like it's kind of forced to put Yusuf in there. I've seen people flat out say that somebody from Hell's Kitchen would never run into somebody from Jersey City. And let me tell you, as somebody born and raised in New York, it is highly likely for these people to run into each other. My uncle, for example, lives in New Jersey and works in Manhattan. A lot of the people that he interacts with are people who live in New York. You know, people travel outside of their boroughs to go do things, like get a business loan. But Matt, unfortunately, gets rejected for this loan because the firm doesn't make any money. That's what happens when you do a lot of pro bono work. But after he leaves, he doesn't get too far when his daredevil senses start picking up something not right. And it's a bunch of fools that are out here trying to rob the bank. And I understand a bank robbery is a very serious situation, but these guys full on rocked up looking like a bag of Skittles. So Matt, being who he is, and you see him sort of struggle with the inner conflict of, do I mind my own business or do I let the vigilante out just a little bit? And of course he goes back because he's Matt Murdock. He's gonna go. And in fact, it's Kamala's dad that calls the cops, but Matt wanders back in and ingratiates himself into the situation. And these guys, they just want to get in the vault, and they want the bank director, but they want the bank manager, but he's not there that day. He had a family emergency. And there's one guy, honestly, did not think he would be really important, but we see him again in episode 6. This guy, he makes a point of saying they don't keep cash in the vault. Like, nobody keeps cash in a bank vault anymore. And somebody asks, how do you know that? I think it might have been Matt that asked, how do you know that? He goes, because I got a safety deposit box in there. That's all that's in there, safety deposit boxes. Now, the guy in the red mask is the one in charge here. He's the one asking for the bank manager, and he goes to Yusuf and he's like, what do you do here, sir? He's like, I'm the assistant. Emphasis on assistant bank manager. He goes, well, you can get me into the vault then, can't you? No, the assistant bank manager cannot get you into the vault, sorry. But Yusuf, for some reason, I guess to keep the dude from getting angry, says, yeah, sure. Yeah, I can take you down there. We can go. So he walks away to go deal with whatever other criminal nonsense he's up to. And Matt's like, you can't do that, can you? And he's like, nope. And Matt's giving him all these instructions. When you get down there, stall. And he's like, but why? Why? Why are we stalling? I mean, you're going to have to because, you know, whoever brings you down there is going to figure out you can't get in there pretty quick. So when they go down there, Yusuf is telling the whole history of this bank. You know, the vault was built first, and then the rest of the bank was built around it. I think that's how a lot of old banks were built. And then Matt's like, hey, I gotta pee. So, can the blind guy get some assistance, please? Yeah, they got maybe like halfway down a flight of stairs before he's daredeviling the crap out of the guy that's escorting him to the restroom. So he comes to Yusuf's rescue. Uses, again, his super blind guy powers to crack the safe. The vault, and there really is just safety deposit boxes. So he checks the dude's pocket and finds a safety deposit box key. Now here's where I had a question. If these guys had the safety deposit box key, why did we need to stage a robbery? Why could somebody not just walk in and say, hey, I would like to access my safety deposit box like a normal person and avoid suspicion and just get what you came to get and leave? This whole ordeal was unnecessary because there was only one thing inside it. It was like a little bag with a yellow diamond. Yusuf called it a diamond. I saw a yellow stone and went, Infinity Stone? But that's not what it is. It's some yellow diamond. What they wanted it for, I don't know. I guess we'll find out, but they don't have it anyway. The guy in charge hands the bag with the diamond to a woman who was one of the hostages in the bank. Is she involved? They do suspect that somebody was running the show that wasn't there, because the red guy in charge kept mentioning a boss, and they feel like this might be some sort of inside job situation. But she opens the bag when she gets out of the bank after the police raid the place, and inside of it is one of these little candies, because Yusuf has a glass bowl of them on his desk. He offers them to Matt. So at some point, Matt palmed one, and he puts the stone in Yusuf's candy dish. What's going to happen to it now? I have no idea. Maybe Yusuf should just leave it camouflaged in that candy dish. Maybe put the dish in a drawer or something. I don't know. I would say, hey, tell the cops this is what they were looking for. But also, I don't know if you should hand it over to the cops, the way they've been in this series. Now, the leader manages to escape, and he dips out wearing a cop uniform, whether it's stolen or it's fake and he bought it online or something. He just walks right out past everybody. Nobody asks any questions. But Matt, being who he is, follows behind the guy and pulls on the red mask and just messes him up. And that's when we're getting a little bit closer to the devil of Hell's Kitchen. And after that, Matt just goes back on about his day, living his life. Still struggling with, his moral dilemma of, do I vigilante or do I not? Because then we go into episode 6, where Angela makes another appearance. I love this kid. She is like ready to be baby white tiger, and I'm all about it. I love Angela. But she comes to Matt and says, but we'll get to her in a minute. Because the first thing you see is, lying on some rocks, Muse's victim from like 2 episodes ago. He's found by somebody that's part of the sanitation department. And turns out they got a serial killer they didn't know about. Shocker. Fisk isn't happy about it. I think he actually says, how does sanitation know about it before me? Well, that's actually what tends to happen. Somebody dumps a body in an alleyway, like in a dumpster behind some trash cans or something. But this serial killer, who is in fact Muse, has a shocking number of victims. It's upward of 60, which means he's been doing this for a very long time. Even though we've seen him taking like 2 people at a time in this episode, I think a lot of his victims are just singular people. So to get to 60 plus, it's been a very long time. Muse is known throughout the city as being one of the graffiti artists that paints the murals. And honestly, the murals are one of my favorite things about this show. They're beautiful. Until you find out what he's using to make them. Now, remember I said that guy from the previous episode that I didn't think would really matter outside of it? Well, he does. Because he's the guy in charge of cleaning the graffiti off of buildings. He couldn't get one of Fisk off a building. So he had to do some chemical tests to see exactly what this paint was made out of, so he knew what to use to get rid of it. It turns out it's epoxy and human blood. That's what Muse is draining people for, which is freaking disgusting. I mean, Muse's whole vibe is gross, okay? I also just don't like blood. I don't like it. So Fisk decides he's going to handpick a task force. Task force includes Powell from the Hector incident and, quote, every other bad apple on the force. So I'm sure this isn't going to go well. Probably going to be some instances of these guys taking matters into their own hands. Do I also think they're going to find Muse? Probably not. But you know who does? Angela and Matt. Angela comes to Matt in this episode and says, I think my uncle was onto this serial killer thing, and tells him about an unused subway track that Hector had written down. What she thought Matt would be able to do about that, I don't know. Because as far as she knows, Matt's just a lawyer, and he says, well, you should be telling the cops this, but understand why you don't. I wouldn't trust him either if I were Angela. I wouldn't trust him if I were Matt. So, little baby white tiger takes it upon herself to go alone and investigate. And the second I saw her walking through that tunnel, I said, oh, Angela, honey, no. You knew in that instant nothing good was going to happen to this child. And you can tell she's a little bit scared, as she should be. She's walking with her phone out, and the next thing you know, she's getting carried off by Muse. Because of course she is. But, I work with kids younger than her. They're small. But she's still a kid. So, like, the child care person in me, the auntie in me is like, oh my God, not the baby. I told you not to go down there, kid. What are you doing? And Matt gets a call from Soledad. And she says, we don't know where Angela is. We can't find her. Have you heard from her? If you do, let me know. All of the worried mom stuff. And when Matt gets off the phone, he dials 911. He's standing there and he just goes, fuck it. And Daredevil is back, baby, for a good reason. Go save that baby, Matthew. Go save Hector's niece. It's the least you can do for him. He already knows where to look because Angela told him. And he figures that's where she's gonna be. And he finds Muse draining the blood out of this poor little girl. Because clearly Muse doesn't have a victim type. Doesn't care who it is. Doesn't care she's a child. He just claims victims on opportunity. You cross his path, that was your choice. That's your mistake, and now you're on his weird table. Wonderful fight scene between Daredevil and Muse. Honestly, I really thought they were going to make us wait till the last episode for Daredevil to start daredeviling again, but they didn't, and I appreciate that. Because I love a fight scene. I love a good fight scene. This one was very, very good. Once Matt has Muse down on the ground, he goes and has to do chest compressions to bring Angela back. And in that time, Muse takes off. So we will be seeing Muse again. But Angela is most likely going to be fine. She's awake and probably needs some cookies and apple juice. But as Daredevil is now once again daredeviling, Kingpin is kind of starting to Kingpin again. Anyway, that's all for this video. I will see you guys next time. Be excellent to each other. Bye.